Hey, Travis with TCustomz Productions, TCustomz.com. Today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I was able to take multiple stock piano sounds within Ableton Live 9 Suite and achieve a much bigger, larger sound than the sounds are individually. I'm a big fan of stacking and layering sounds, and I've gotten a lot of questions from various Ableton Live users that have followed some of my past videos, tutorials, who maybe don't have the extra budget and money to splurge on different VSTs and sound modules and are looking to kind of get the best bang for their buck with what they already have. And while I'm not necessarily a big advocate of all the stock sounds in Live, especially for the type of production that I make, I have found select sounds that I've used from time to time, special effects, synth sounds, in this case piano sounds. But I just want to show you how I was able to take maybe some individual sounds that might have been thin or kind of okay average sounds and be able to stack and kind of enhance them. I thought the various patches that I'm actually using and just some of the techniques, some of the really simple stuff when I'm layering any type of instruments. I'm gonna play a little snippet of what this entire beat sounds like. This is a track that I just released recently on the site and put a beat making video up for that, but I'm gonna play a little snippet of this so you get a sense of the piano in this beat, and then I'm gonna break down, I've got two different piano tracks, or two piano groups. This is the main piano chords here, and then I have some additional piano riffs, just some kind of accents, and I have three different stacks here. So I'm just gonna play the second half of the verse and then we'll get into the piano. So kind of a darker vibe hip hop beat. You can definitely hear the piano in there. The chords are kind of buried among some other instrumentation, so those might not be as apparent. So I'll solo out those main piano chords first, and then we'll break down how I achieved that particular sound. So those main chords that play throughout are made up of these two separate tracks. So I first just want to give you the patches that I'm using. This first sound is called Grand Piano Equal Production. And so if you are in the Ableton Live Instruments, if you drop down the sampler option and you go to Piano and Keys, you scroll down to Grand Piano Equal Production. So that's this patch right here. And with this particular patch, I'm just playing octaves. I'm actually doubling the octaves. You'll see here B3, B2, B1, and B0. So that's my first chord essentially with this patch that I'm playing. So if I just solo this out, you can get a sense of what this sounds like. This patch in itself is okay, and I believe I've used this or one of these other grand piano patches as a solo instrument in some of my past beats, some of my past recent production, and I could have probably just laid down the chords, the entire chords with this particular patch, but I kind of already had an idea that I wanted to stack something on top of this, and so I just laid down the octaves. One other thing I wanted to mention, especially for those of you who are quantizing your instrumentation, if you're playing MIDI notes and you're quantizing it directly on the grid, if I zoom into these octaves, you'll see that these notes are not all playing down at the same time, and so this, for starters, is already starting to give a little more natural sound. Sometimes we get in the habit of, quantizing stuff, especially if we're playing live and we're kind of off the grid from our metronome or whatever drums we have laid or the rest of the instrumentation. But that was the first piano sound. The next piano sound that I ended up layering on top of that for the main chords is called Club Pian-O. The previous patch, you'll see that I rolled off some of the low end. I just kind of did this preemptively because I knew I was going to have to eventually roll that off anyway. And for the second patch, I actually put a higher threshold, almost 1K on this Club Piano O. And for this, I'm not playing octaves, I'm actually playing the chord. So I'm playing an octave in the bass. So you'll see here, this is the same B0, B1, and then this is an actual B minor chord is what these three notes here are, and a G major with the lower octave. And also with this, you'll see that none of these notes are synced up. I'm doing this to give more natural sound and give more width and kind of spread to this sound. So you get almost kind of a broken chord, takes up more space, it sounds more natural, you get to hear kind of some of the keys individually, and that paired really well with the initial octaves that I had from the previous patch. So that's kind of the main supporting chords that I have to this sample track above. The next piano track that I want to focus on is this one called Piano Riffs. This is a group of 3 separate tracks here. These are the most prominent piano notes in the mix. Like I said, the chords are kind of pushed back because they're just supporting the other instrumentation. These are at a higher octave and they're a little more obvious and apparent up front. So this is a very simple track in terms of the melody. I'm playing broken octaves in all 3 tracks. These 2 secondary tracks are just an exact copy, replica of this initial MIDI information up here. The other thing that you'll notice is that I have a delay set just a little bit differently. So the information's the same, and I've just shifted this first track by 10 milliseconds. And I've shifted this last track by 20 milliseconds, and that just gives more brokenness, I guess, to the track, so they're not all hitting down exactly the same time. It makes for a larger sound, which is what I was trying to achieve with this. Like I said, very simple. The first patch is piano equal mellow production. So again, instruments, sampler, piano and keys. You'll see that instrument here. The second piano track in this group is actually the exact same patch and instrument as above. It's just this one actually is a direct copy in terms of everything. The MIDI information, the actual patch. The only difference is that it's pitched down an octave. So you got a lower octave and then you got a higher octave. The last patch that I have here is called Old School Roads, and it is also in the piano and keys. This is very subtle. It's pushed back far in the mix, but just to give some extra brights and highs. And again, with all those combined, so that was my basic approach for achieving these particular piano sounds for this beat. You know, if you are stacking the same MIDI information, you can experiment with your delays, and that way you're building bigger sounding chords, ultimately using your ear based on what's going to work best for the beat that you're working on, what other instrumentation, if you already have a sample laid down or you already have other elements. You know, it's not a one size fits all, but hopefully that can give you some ideas if you are on limited plugins, if you don't have a lot of extra sounds, whether you're using the stock sound in live or you have just other basic plugins, you can still take the same tips as far as layering, as basic EQ, filtering, delay, get the levels right. You can experiment with delaying and panning. I didn't even get into that in this particular video, but that's something I've talked about in past videos. If you didn't make it this far, if you are at the end and this was helpful, or you have any suggestions or tips or comments, feel free to drop them below. Feel free to subscribe for more videos like this. There is also a playlist on the channel that has a lot more music production tips, tutorials, and different things if that's something that you're interested in. Beat making videos, instrumentals, sound kits, the list goes on. There's going to be a wealth of other information, resources, and links listed in the description. Feel free to explore that. If you have any other questions, let me know. I appreciate you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.